allow me to introduce myself. I am Ruba Sundaram, currently a fifth-year medical student in USM. Thank you for your willingness to join our webinar session for today. As you already know, our topic for tonight is MedWeb Meet Your Seniors. For your information, this is the third series of MedWeb organized by the Student Development Bureau of Medical Society USMKK. More than 500 participants from various backgrounds and institutions have joined our first and second installment of this MedWeb. We hope to continuously receive your support via participation in all our upcoming series. Participants, for today, we have three distinguished and respected speakers who have been kind enough to spend their time to join our sharing session for today. As the Malay proverb goes, tak kenal maka tak cinta, it is only appropriate for us to get to know our three speakers for today. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for tonight, who is Dr. Nurhanis Syazni. Her education includes doing her international baccalaureate, as you can see on the screen, in College Mara Banting. And then she went to do her degree in Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland until from 2006 to 2011. And then she did her master's in medical education in University Science Malaysia. For her internship and working experience, as you can see on the screen, it's pretty extensive, whereby she did her internship in 2011 and 2012 in Ireland, and then did her housemanship and became a medical officer in USM. And in 2014, she became a trainee lecturer. And in 2016, she has been a lecturer in the medical education department of USM. Her areas of expertise include the medical education and also medical professionalism and physicians' well-being. I'm glad to have been one of the students who have been taught by Dr. Hanis during my preclinical years here in USM, and I'm pleased that the rest of the participants tonight will also be given the opportunity to listen to her wisdom tonight. We're glad to have you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for your... Oh, sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. All right, so our second speaker for tonight is Dr. Muhammad Aiman, who is currently working in USM, Hospital University Science Malaysia, as a house officer. He did his degree in Doctor of Medicine in University Science Malaysia from the year 2014 and graduated in 2019. And he has been actively involved in our Medsoc and served as the president for the Medical Student Society for the year 2018 and 2019. We are also happy to have you here tonight, Doctor. Finally, our third speaker for today is Dr. Mujaahid. Okay. So Dr. Mujaahid is our fresh graduate from USM, who's going to start his housemanship in a few more days, I think, or weeks. All right, so he has been actively involved as the president of Student Representative Council of USM Campus Kesihatan. He's also an alumnus of the Youth Leadership Academy 2018 and also a member of Fellow Parliament Malaysia. For his awards-wise, which I'm truly envious about, he's an overall best speaker in the National InterVarsity Medical Ethics Debate 2018 and also was the best panelist for Diskusi Raja Berperlembagaan dan Demokrasi Berparlimen also in the year 2018. And his field of interest include medical ethics and jurisprudence. It's great to have you here tonight, Muja.
Hey, Ruba.
Hi.
Thank you.
All right, so these are our three speakers for tonight. Without further ado, I think we'll proceed with our sharing session for tonight. The first speaker will be Dr. Hanis, who will be sharing her experiences and views regarding a general overview on the career in medicine and how to know if you're suitable to become a doctor, and also to give us a little bit insight about the student selection for the medical course. So the floor, or rather the screen, is yours, Doctor.
Okay, thank you so much, Ruba, for the kind introduction. Okay, I'm just going to share my slide. Okay, give me a few seconds. Okay, there's no share button. All right, okay, I got it now, yeah. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good evening. to all participants. Thank you again, Ruba, for the kind introduction. I'm very glad today to share the stage with the students and my previous students who I really look up to. I was given the topic, something on introducing medicine to the audience. And today we have a broad audience. We have school students, secondary school students, SPM students, and also PRIU students, and also our medical school students. So I hope that this topic somehow entertains each spectrum. So if you have more questions or if you want me to give more details, you can feel free to ask me at the end of the session or throughout the session, okay? Right, so hopefully in this 20 to 30 minutes, I would like to share some overview of career in medicine. I think some students, although they are in medical schools, they might have some some curiosity like what is next after medical schools, after you become specialist, is there anything else after that? So I'm hoping to present the spectrum of career in medicine. And then am I a good candidate to do medicine? So this is more to the students who haven't entered medical schools. And then what are the student selection method in medicine, particularly in USM, okay? Okay, so we all have a different inspiration that lead us to take medicine. Some people were inspired to see somebody treated them in their childhood or treated their parents. In this era of COVID-19, a lot of people get inspired watching the frontliners, how massive their contribution is. And then some people also feel that maybe with a medical degree, you can do so much of things, which some people may know and some people may not know. They think that with medical degree, you can just become a doctor, okay? Or maybe you also were driven by your parents. It's not totally wrong, but we'll discuss later why it's not supposed to be just that, okay? And then some people think that it is a promising guaranteed job. So this is a lot of chaos nowadays. Unfortunately, medicine is no longer a guaranteed job as in the past, okay? And some people think that by becoming a doctor, you become rich. So is that true? However, I think in any religion, medicine is a noble profession. And that is how perhaps a lot of our parents desire that their children becomes a doctor. In Islam, there's this one verse that says, وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. So whoever saves a life, and that includes doctors, it will be as if they have saved all humanity. So it's a very noble profession. And in fact, there was a survey done, like what are the most trusted profession, and I think doctors repeatedly scored the highest. So it is a very trusted profession in the society. Okay. Right. So, excuse me. We all know that to enter medicine, you need some sort of either matriculation or you do your STPM or you have some sort of preparation. Preparation could include IB, A-level, and there's a lot more. Okay, so this ranges about half to 2 years. Half because there were preparation program to overseas that was just 6 months, I think to Egypt. Okay, and sometimes it extend up to 2 years, STPM, IB. Okay, and then after spending that amount of time, you have to apply to enter to do medical degree, and this will take another 5 to 6 years. And this phase will be shared more by our second panelist. Okay. For the secondary school students or the students who just finished SPM or STPM, you might wonder like how do you choose your medical school? Okay, to be safe, you have to, of course, if you have scholarship, the scholarship will make sure that you go into a recognized medical school. But if you are going on your own, you are self-sponsored, you must check with the list of recognized medical institution by the second schedule of Medical Act. And this list is can be obtained from the MMC website. Okay, and there are about 32 countries that offer medical school that has medical schools that are recognized in Malaysia. And in Malaysia alone, there are about 38 medical schools. And the first, if you can see here, University Malaya was the first medical schools in Malaysia, and if you see on the third column, medical graduate receive different kind of certificates. For example, University Malaya, they receive MBBS, UKM, USM, they give MD, and from where I was graduated, it was MBBCHBO. So there's also variation a bit to the degree that was conferred to the graduates, okay? So please make sure that you, if you want to apply, please check for this. Otherwise, if you go into an unrecognized institution, you have to take an exam before entering Houseman, which is known as examination of provisional registration, okay? Right. So after graduating with either MD, MBBS or MBBCHBAO, you will then have to wait. Okay, there's no more 1 month waiting time. Now it is almost a year of waiting time before going to housemanship. And the housemanship alone will take another 2 years. If you go abroad, some of the countries is just 1 year, some 2 years. And housemanship are also known as internship or foundation year program. So this phase will be explained more by, I think, the third panelist, Dr. Aiman. Okay, so he will be sharing his experience. Okay, and then after finishing housemanship, we will undergo medical officership. And there are 3 major categories to this, and these include clinical medical officers, public health medical officers. Public health medical officers, most of them not in the hospital, but some in PKD, Pusat Kesihatan Daerah. Okay, so and also non-clinical. So non-clinical medical officers include those who are in admin, doing research. Yeah, okay. Okay. I forgot to mention about the pictures. I think a lot of us watch medical movies, medical dramas, and if we are not familiar how the intern's life looks like, so it is something like Grey's Anatomy in the first season. This is where they were interns. Okay, this is where they were still following Dr. Bailey around doing the intern's job. Okay, so this is probably some pictures of internship phase. Okay. Although it's not that accurate in Malaysia context lah, yeah. And then after when doing medical officers, you will need at least 1 year before you qualify to apply for postgraduate training. But sometimes people take 2 or 3 years before they actually qualify, because in order to enter specialist training, there's a lot of pre-entrance requirement. So some people took 1 year, took 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years. So when you have applied for specialist training, it will take another 4 to 7 years. So what kind of medical movie characters that looks like somebody in specialist training is something like Conrad Hawkins in The Residents, and perhaps Sean Murphy in The Good Doctor. So these are people who are not yet the boss, but they are going towards that. Okay. And in Malaysia, these are the list of clinical specialty that are recognized in the National Specialist Registry. And most of these specialty training are available in USM. Okay, there are about 7 universities that offers postgraduate or specialty training in Malaysia. Although there are 38 medical school in Malaysia, only 7 that has postgraduate training, and USM has most of this training. Okay, and in fact USM is the only training center for neurosurgery and plastic surgery, and I think transfusion medicine as well. Okay, and the MMed or the Masters of Medicine is not the only track for you to become a specialist. There's also parallel pathway where it is a form of membership exam that you take, and it will also qualify you to become a specialist. So how do I know whether I'm more suitable to do MMed or more suitable to do parallel pathway? There are a lot of resources available online. One of them is by the Heart NGO and also the MMI MEDEX conference. So there's a lot of materials online for you to look up for. Of course, you may think that it is early, but some people actually do some pre-reading first, so that when you are doing your houseman, perhaps you can start doing the requirement that is needed for that programs. Okay. Right, so what happened? Not everybody will finish the MMed program 4 years, not less than half will finish then in 4 years. It is a very tough program because this is where there's a lot of intersection between our education and our life. Some people fail their exam, some people have to take leave, like extend one semester because of health issues, because of family issues. So some people will take up to 7 years. But if you exceed 7 years, you have to drop the program. Okay. And in Malaysia, unfortunately, if you drop a program MMed, you cannot apply to another MMed program. So if you drop in one MMed program, that means if you want to specialize, you have to choose a parallel pathway program. Okay. Are you following?
Yes, still following.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what happened is that when you finish the specialist training, it's not over yet. We have to do gazettement. Gazettement for MMed program is 6 months, but for some parallel program, it is another 1.5 years. Okay, so after finishing gazettement, only you become a specialist. So for housemanship, they will have a registration number or provisional registration, which is conferred by MMC. So MMC is Malaysian Medical Council, is the professional body that look after the medicine profession in Malaysia. When you become medical officer, you will get a full registration number. This is where you can start doing locum in clinic, and you can sign MC, which is the medical certificate. And then when you finish gazettement, you will get another thing that is NSR, or the specialist registration. Okay. Okay, so when somebody becomes specialist, for example, you become a physician, you become a general physician or general surgeon. Some people will remain as a generalist. Some people will undergo a subspecialty training, and this will take another 3 years. There's a program for this now, and it's becoming more and more established. So what are some of the program available? I will show you later. But that after finishing subspecialty, then you become subspecialty specialist, or also known as consultant in some places. So this is where direct shepherd or the house sits. So it's not easy. If you add up, it is like a 17 years of journey, worth of journey before you become a consultant. So sometimes when you go into medical school, our orang kampung or our relative will ask, when you finish medical school, what kind of doctor you will become? Unfortunately, we are just a doctor, not yet a lung doctor or a heart doctor, not yet. It will take a few more years, not a few more years, a lot more years before we are reaching there. So I think that is why we have to own a big why to do this career, because it is a long undertaking. Okay. So I said just now, subspecialty training, and these are some of the subspecialty training. For example, if you are interested to do medicine, after becoming a general physician, you can do cardiology. So you become general physicians and cardiologists. Or you can do dermatology. So you become general physicians and dermatologists, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I think if you are going towards clinical track, it is good to aim this, because we need this expertise in our country. Yeah, there's a table. I was trying to look for it, but I couldn't find it. There was a table that shows the specialist number that we have now, and the number we need in terms of ratio to population. And unfortunately, for all of the specialty, we are still behind the figures. So we still need a lot more of specialists, although people are saying there's a lot of doctors now. Yeah. Okay. Just to know that not everybody will go up to become a consultant in medicine. Some people will probably stop in medical officers and become medical officers until the end of the career. Some people maybe become specialists until the end of the career. And some people also, from the figures, it is about 3% of the housemen resign during the training. So it is a tough phase, but I think we shouldn't be so quick to judge people. Some people perhaps resign because of attitude issues, but there are a lot of people also who resign because of other issues like medical issues. So just to know that not everybody finish housemanship, okay? And then some people resign during medical offices to join private practice, KPJ, Sunway, or even establish their own clinic, become a GP, yeah? And then some people resign after becoming a specialist to join private practice, yeah? Okay, when you become medical officers, you have an option to join universities as trainee lecturers or join Ministry of Defense. They also have their own scheme for doctors and become an army doctors. Okay, I think there are a lot more options, but this is the major two options that people are looking now. So when you join universities or join MINDEF, you will still have to undergo specialist training before you become a specialist. It's just that the scholarship is different. Rather than the scholarship offered by KKM, universities have their own scholarship. MINDEF has their own scholarship. Okay? And some people like myself take a non-clinical pathway. Some examples are anatomy, biostatistics, medical education, physiology, what else? There's a lot more. Or venture into other non-mainstream undertaking, but becoming very popular now. For example, health economy. So I have few friends who take health economy masters and they become like part of the insurance or takaful company to draft the health policy or the medical card policy. Yeah, so this is also some of the options. So what I'm trying to say that with a medical degree, you can do actually quite a lot of things. The possibility are quite endless. You can do research, you can join the pharmaceutical company and become drug reps also. Yeah. Okay. So I've shown you some options to become clinicians, non-clinicians, and now there are also a recognized track to do this, to become the subject matter expert or SME in KKM. So we can apply scholarship to actually do this what do you say, the special sort of specialty, like I'm not sure whether they are called specialists, but you can actually apply for scholarship. And one of my friend, she went to Cardiff to do a 2 years masters in wound care, so she's helping a lot of KK in Selangor when there's a complicated wound care or wound infection. So this is some of the options that you also may want to look. Yeah. Okay. And the other reasons why I'm saying we have to have a big why, it's not just because of the long duration, but there's a lot of challenge that comes with the training stages. And I'm not trying to demotivate. Actually, it's a very good profession, but of course, in all profession, there's a challenge that comes with it. So in medicine, there's a popular move now about contract post. There's a code black now. So during housemanship and medical officers now, they are struggling with the contract post. And perhaps some of the panel would like to discuss a bit about this. I'm not sure. Okay. When somebody become medical officers, then you have to start worrying about the career progression. What do I have to do? Am I going to do MEd? Am I going to do parallel pathway? So this is some of the struggle during this phase. Okay, when you become specialist in KKM, there's a lot of specialists that struggle with brain drain. So brain drain because there's a lot. You have already become a superior, but there's still a lot of work. Okay, so some people choose to resign and go to a private practice where there's a less paperwork perhaps, or maybe something that suits their work-life balance. However, throughout the career, we all share the same struggle, which is striking a perfect work-life balance, or not even perfect, like a healthy work-life balance, and mental health issues. So doctors are also human. We get stressed as well. Okay. Okay. For medical, so for secondary school students, for prior students, how do you know whether you are a match to do medicine? Is brilliant or clever a sole requirement or the only requirement to do medicine? Okay. So intelligence is important, but it's not everything. Okay, I'm going to show you why. So there's one study that tried to look into other studies. So this is a review that looked into other studies, and they tried to see what contributes to success in undergrad or in the medical training. And unfortunately, just 23% of the success, only 23% of the success in medical training is attributed to being intelligent. For the other 77% is something else, is your non-academic ability, communication skill, resilience, and many, many more. So what happened in postgrad? Do you know how much will academic or intelligence contribute to the success in postgraduate training? Maybe some guess in the chat box. Okay, 50%, 2%. All right, 2% is close. It's actually 6%. So sometimes you will see that this guy, this friend, from school time, you start to see like he or she may not be so clever. Perhaps you are more clever than him or her, but now he's doing so well in postgraduate training. So just so you know that academic ability only contribute to 6%. There are a lot more of things that comes with success in when it comes to postgraduate training. So what are these non-academic stuff or non-academic ability, right? So this is one of the studies. There are a lot more studies that shows a similar findings. So they try to do a model that predicts success of trainee in ONG. We all know ONG is a very, very tough training. So this study find that what it takes to be successful in ONG training is this. So I'm just gonna simplify the terms. Okay. First, you have to have a passion or minat, because this will drive you towards the completing the training or becoming successful, wanting to achieve better. So there must be some passion that that made you do this. Okay. Number 2 is rajin. Brilliant alone is not going to do you good, because I think in medicine there's so much content, and in SPM I think some of us may be still able to hafal or memorize everything in the book. I think there are students who actually in SPM memorize everything from cover to cover, or perhaps able to answer all questions. If at maths have 5 questions, you only have to answer 3, they can answer all 5. But in medical training, there's always some things that you are not able to memorize or you don't know. So rajin is a very important, hardworking is very important. And then because in medicine, we are working with a lot of people, the staff nurse, allied health professional, we cannot work alone. So if you are a kind of person who just work alone, you don't want to be involved with people, perhaps this is the least or the last thing you want to do, because we work with a lot of people. So teamwork, kerjasama, okay? And then communication. So talking to people is really sort of the main thing that we do in medicine, okay? And we have to have support, and also because there's a lot of uncertainties that comes with this. I just talked to Aiman this evening, and he said that there's no guarantee that you're gonna come home at 5 every day. Sometimes you come home at 8, kan? Sometimes you come home at 6. So there's a lot of uncertainties. So we must be flexible. Okay? And then self-care is also important. It's not the penjagaan diri on the skin, but your mental health, the work-life balance is also very, very important. So these are the important non-academic ability that is going to make people stay in medicine. Okay, so this is my last slide. Okay, all right. So for the students who are thinking to enter medical training, you know that there's some syarat or requirement, and the syarat is determined by two body. Number one is the MMC, the professional body, and number two is the university. Sometimes some universities has their own additional requirement. Okay, so I know that the MMC says that you need in matriculation a CGPA of 3, but now there's so many people with 4 flat. So this minimum requirement might not get you into the student selection. Sometimes it's very competitive, okay. So what happened is that you have to check this requirement. For A level IB is different, and then apply to UPU. So this is a central system where we apply to programs, to degree programs, and then UPU will feed your applications into medical school. I think you can apply more than one. I think up to 4 choice. Okay, so all of the choices, the universities that you choose will get your applications and we will screen. And for USM, every year we will get around 2,000 or more applications. But we cannot afford to interview everybody because there's a lot of resources to interview. So we will normally select 600 to 800 candidates for interview. And normally we will interview all applicants with 4 flat or 3.8 above, but put USM as the first choice. Okay, so please take that tips. If you really want to go into USM, put USM as the first choice. All right, and then you will undergo what is called MMI. So maybe some of our panelists would like to share the experience. So it's not just one station of interviews, that's a lot of stations, and there's nothing about your intelligence there. There's a lot of other things there, but it's very natural. Just be yourself because we wanted to see who are you, not try to see who are you faking. Okay? Okay. What happened? We will give the marks and the UPU will rank your applications again. And if you put USM a first choice and you do well, inshallah you will get USM, right? So and get the offer letter. I guess that's all for my part. This is some of my journey. So I did my degree abroad and worked for 1 year abroad just to get some experience. But then I came back. I was in the klinik kesihatan for some times and then joined medical education. I'm a lecturer, but as you can see from the previous trajectory, there's still a long way to go. And I hope that all of you and myself will become somebody in the area that will initiate good changes in the healthcare system. So I think that's all for me. Thank you.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
So may I add a bit about what Dr. Hanis just mentioned about the minimum requirement to apply for medical school just now?
Yes, please. Amin.
Just now in one of her slides, she put it there is that the minimum requirement is 5 Bs in SPM, is it? And there's in some selected subjects. And then actually, yes, it is minimum requirement also set by MMC as well. So if you didn't fulfill the minimum requirement, then after that you went through matriculations and your matrix is you have a 4 pointers, 4 flat, and then you apply for medical school, and then you accidentally admitted to medical school, and then you graduated with your MD degrees, but still you cannot fulfill the MMC requirement because your SPM is you still need all the 5 Bs in the selected subjects. Because there's many cases that for some students, they didn't fulfill the minimum criteria. They applied for some private institutions for medical school and maybe some overseas. And then they graduated, and then when they come here, they're unable to work as medical doctors because of the minimum requirements. So for SPM leavers, and also maybe there's some secondary school students here, if you're still interested to join medicine, so make sure you fulfill these minimum requirements. And also it is not necessary for you to get straight A's. Even in my batchmate during undergraduate and the graduate days, there's some of my friends who only get 2 A's and even very few A's in their experience, but they get into matriculations and scored a good marks for their matriculations and applied for USM, go through the interviews and they get accepted into the medical school. So for aspirant leavers, maybe there are those who already have their results and they are fulfilled the minimum requirements, and then maybe next accepted to matriculations or any other tertiary institutions, you can still try
Thank
to
you,
apply
Aiman.
for medical school. All right.
So although you missed to do well in SPM, there's if you meet the minimum requirement, you still have the opportunity to perform in matriculation and apply. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Aiman.
Thank you, Doctor. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't have anything to add, but I think there was a question just now. I got a question. Do I have answer it now or after this?
Up to Doctor. Kalau if Doctor want to answer now, then for the Q&A later, we'll take different questions.
Okay. I think we will take this one question. A participant asked whether we can work in private hospital without finishing housemanship. You can, but not as a doctor, because housemanship, you have to complete housemanship to obtain the full MMC or full registration. So without the full registration, one is a no doctor. You cannot work in clinic, you cannot work in the private hospital or anywhere. You can work perhaps as a research officer or pharmaceutical company representative, but with not a doctor title. Yeah. Okay, there's more questions, but I think I don't know whether I still have time or shall I keep it at the end?
I think we'll move on first, Doctor, then we'll come to the questions later. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the sharing, Doctor. I'm sure it's very helpful to the future undergrads and also postgrad students who might want to pursue in their selected fields. I especially relate to your the one that you talked about, the finding your big why, and agree with it, because I think as someone who is still not even halfway done with my medical school journey, I struggle with staff days too, and having the big why is something that keeps me going, and I hope everyone else finds your big why before you choose to pursue your career in medicine. Moving on to our next sharing session, I'd like to invite Dr. Mujaahid, Muhammad Mujaahid, who will be sharing with us on how to prepare for the MMI, the multiple mini interviews that we have before entering medical school, and the differences between clinical and preclinical. And also, he will enlighten us the challenges as a medical student, considering that he's just finished his journey as a medical student, and also how to balance between studying and also having a healthy life. So I'll pass on to Muja.
Thank you, Ruba. Let me share my screen first, okay? Okay. You see my screen?
Okay, we can see.
All right. Okay. So thank you, Ruba. So Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. So today I'll be sharing with you guys four things in my experience. Number one, regarding the preparation for medical school interviews. Secondly, I'll be explaining briefly regarding the difference between clinical and pre-clinical, and what ways can you do to go about those years. And then certain challenge that you might face or you are facing currently as a medical student, that is in my opinion. And secondly, I would say, why study and life balance is important in your life. Okay, so we move on to the first topic. So preparation for medical school interview. Normally in a medical school, they will have a multiple mini interview session, where not like a normal interview session where you'll be in a room with 3 panels, but this time they will put you in a station where, for example, you have 10 sta- station, and then each of that you have like 10 minutes of time to answer question. And the question that are going to be asked to you is very broad and is very open in order to know you, like what Dr. Hanis mentioned just now, is to know yourself. During those interview session, you're not required to bring your certs, your past activities that you have joined. You just need to bring your own self, and they'll prepare you a question before you enter in that room, and they give like 7 to 10 minutes in order to ask the question. So, and then the good thing that I realized about the MMI is that, as contrast to the previous session, if you enter the room, that is the only chance for you to perform in that room. If you like get nervous and you are not able to answer the question, then that's it for you. I mean, there's no second chance for you. But then for MMI station, each station would be a different panel judging you or asking you questions. So even like, for example, you have 10 rooms. So even if the first room you unable to answer the question or you don't know anything about the question, you still have 9 other rooms to score in order to get to enter medical school. I think this is a very good way to select students, because somehow initially when you want to attend interview, normally you feel nervous, and then in the first room you'll be like very shy. It's hard for you to talk, and then as you go on from station to station, you get used to it. You'll become comfortable, and in the end you might be able to do quite well. And then from the range of questions that they ask, they don't normally ask a medical based question. In regards to that, I'll explain that later on, but they ask more about yourself, and certain questions that are going to be asked is scenario based question. And for me personally, I think this is a very important part, because the idea of asking this question is to know or to judge how do you think. I mean, how do you react to certain condition. So this is very important, because in real life when you become a doctor, so people want to know how would you react to this kind of situation. For example, the kind of scene that they will give you, for example, that I've been given during my time, is that you want to become a doctor, but then your parents want you to become a lawyer. Okay, that is the question being given to me. So somehow they ask me like to like act like the panel would be my father or my mother. Then how would I persuade them? How would I convince them in order for me to go to med school? So you have to act at that moment, like ayah, saya nani, and all in that 7 minutes. So that is the kind of question. So you need to be ready on the dot with your points, how you want to behave in such situation. Or the other part is that they'll give you a scene where you saw a man who is not a disabled man, but then park his car on the OKU spot. So you need to confront the man. So please show how would you confront the man. So you need to act, show how would you confront the man. And you need to make sure, you need to know that most of the panel, they like to provoke you. Like, what if the man got angry, or what if the man shout at you, and they want to see your response. And normally in this kind of station, if they do like a physical station, they would hire maybe students or real patient to be a patient in that room. So you need to engage with that person. So that person sometimes may act to be angry, shout at you, and they want to see how you respond to those kind of attempt of provocation. So my experience that I've saw, because in the previous year, certain students have been involved during the interview. We help arrange chairs and those kind of things. So we get to see certain students when they are being provoked, they got angry. Some of the students like answer like, when the person got angry, you know what? I'm gonna take a key and chalakan your car or something like that. That is not what I'm supposed to answer. The main idea is that they want to provoke you, but the main target is that for you, how you want to react. The best way is to be calm. You just be calm, explain it properly to the person. If in the end of the day you still can't convince that person to remove his car, it is okay. Like, you are not going to be judged because you failed to convince him, so you failed this station. No, it's how you address, how you react to certain scene. That is what you're going to be judged on. So mind that normally this kind of thing is very hard to fake, because you react to certain thing, and reaction from you is normally like, it is natural for your own self. How you react in real life normally is how you're going to react later on. So that is what they're going to judge you in regards to MMI station. But now I think due to COVID circumstances, we're having online interviews where, if I'm not mistaken, we only going to have one interview session. But the scenario-based question is still applies in online interview. I mean, they still, I think, would ask this kind of question because it's a very famous question. So you need to know how to answer this kind of question, okay? But I mean, prepare yourself, behave well in order to do that. So the third thing that I'll say is basic medical knowledge needed in order for you to attend preparation. I would say in general, you don't have to know a lot. Like you don't need to know like details, the investigation you need to do, management for the patient. You don't need to know in that depth. But for example, in my interview in USM before this, they don't even ask anything in regards to that. The only thing that I think they ask is regarding the first aid response when you see a man suddenly collapse. So what are you gonna do? I think those are the kind of things that even if you're not doctor, you need to know because you need to do a first aid respond to that man. So those are the kind of knowledge that they will test you because I think that one of the lecturers told me that it is not fair, I mean, for us to judge you based on your medical knowledge when eventually we want to teach you that knowledge. So if you want to judge you based on that, so we need to teach you first. So I mean, you don't have to stress yourself to learn like medical knowledge before you come to medical school in interview. I would say that it's not needed for you to know. And then I think for general tips in online interview, number one, you need to make sure that you have a very conducive space. What more, it is an online session. So if you don't have a good internet connection, please make sure you try your best. Reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friend, family, your cousin, whatever. Please make sure you have a stable internet connection. Okay, if you don't have, you call your MP and ask that I have a medical school interview. I need a stable internet connection. Ask them to prepare that for. That's the least that your MP can do for you. Okay, so it's very important because you don't want to be answering question and then suddenly like it is hilang, the connection gone missing and then you cannot see your face clearly. So it's kind of thing that you can't like avoid. So you need to prepare a good internet connection. Secondly, in answering question, it's important for you to understand what is being asked. If it is not clear what is being asked, it is okay to ask again. You can just say that, I'm really sorry, I didn't get quite what doctor was asking just now. Can you repeat the question? It is completely okay. Because we don't want you to, when we ask certain question, then you answer a different one. It shows that you can't comprehend the question well and it won't look good on you. So it's very important to confirm the question. I think in real life, even in what round later, that is very important. When doctor asks you something, they want to know the answer to that question, not what you know. Okay, so that's a thing that you need to put in mind. And lastly, I would say at all situation, be it in medical school interview or interview with any other things that you would like to venture on after this, it's very important to be calm and composed. No matter whatever the question, it is okay to take some time to think, just to take a deep breath, think first, and then you can continue with what you want to say. Okay, so that's basically, I think, 3 general tips that I might share with you in regards to preparation for medical school in interview. So, but then I would like to put a note. Certain interview might be different in certain school. Maybe in local university it might be different, in private university it might be different. I'm sharing this based on my experience as USM student. And yes, so it might differ. So, but then I think the general idea, it is almost the same. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next part. So, life as a medical student. So, in clinical, as a medical student, you have 2 phases: phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is your pre-clinical years, and phase 2 is your clinical years. Some will have 3 phases according to their certain uni. So in pre-clinical years, I would say if you are a pre-U student or matriculation student, it is more or less the same. Mean you have to attend session, lecture, but then you'll be having like clinical skill session. And one thing to be at as a pre-clinical student is problem-based learning, or PBL. PBL is a time where they will give you a scene, more or less like what you've been given in your interview session before, but in regards to the topic that's been discussed. For example, we are discussing hypertension. So you'll be given a real life patient coming to the ward with hypertension. So you need to discuss based on that trigger. So what is the key point? What is the investigation? What is the management? So that is in preclinical years. You don't go to the what yet. All of your times are spent in rooms, in lecture hall, in CSC. Those are the time you don't have to go to what. So I think the learning style is more or less the same like pre-U, but the content is much bigger and a lot. I would say the content for preclinical year is a lot because all of the content in preclinical years is the same content that you'll be using in clinical years, but it's only being taught for 2 years. So the thing that I would say is that it's very important to understand about the topic before eventually you need to memorize those conditions, because I think in preparation for a exam and a lot of other things, when you need to cover, for example, you have like.
So I think while waiting for Mujaahid to regain his connection, maybe I should continue with my session first.
Yep, I think we'll give some time for Muja to settle his technical issues. So we'll proceed with Dr. Muhammad Aiman. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So what I'm going to be sharing today is on the screen. The first one is about the fresh graduate phase. If you refer to Dr. Hanis' slide previously, there should be another phase in between the undergrad phase and also housemanship phase, which is the long period one, which is about 6 months to 1 year, which is the fresh graduate phase. So that's one of the new added phase for new fresh grade of medical graduates nowadays. So in that phase, what should we do actually? Before we enter in housemanship, what should all these medical graduates do? Some would suggest just to go deeper into medicine, have a part-time job at the hospital, doing some research, apply for research assistant post. But for me, my personal opinion is that try to explore more about the work, because in medicine, it's not just about the medicine on its own. Even for my friends, they didn't just work at the hospital. Most of my friends during their fresh graduate phase, they work as the malls, some work as a stockist at the Uniqlo store. Because from working as at other parts of non-medical industries, you can learn more about the hierarchy, about how people works. Okay, and when you are entering housemanship later, you will learn a lot. You will dealing with a lot kind of people, various kind of people, and not all those people which shows a positive attitude, and not all which shows a negative one as well, of course. And after the 6 months to 1 year period, then we will go through for the Malaysian graduate. We will go through the application period, in which we will start to arrange all our documents, our certificates, and go to MMCs, the Malaysian Medical Council, to apply to work as a medical doctor in Malaysia. And that is one of the most hectic phase before we started working as well, because dealing with MMC is such a hassle as well. You need to wait for certain things to be done. And then after you settle with all of that, you can now start working as a houseman in your selected hospital. Oh, and I forgot to add on, for the housemanship period, there are a list of hospitals that you can choose from. There are about 44 hospitals, ranging from the district hospitals and all the big hospitals, such as in Kelantan, we have the Hospital Raja Perempuan Zainab in Kota Baru, and also the Hospital Kuala Kerai, and also the district hospital in Tanah Merah, and also in USM. And for other states, we have a lot more hospitals, totaling about 47 hospitals that provide the housemanship training in Malaysia nowadays. So before started working, the MMC will send to you a link that you need to compete with the other new housemen, so that you need to choose of your desired hospital. They will give you a date, and they give you at about 12 p.m. So you need to be ready in front of your computer. You need to have a very, very stable internet connection so that you can compete really well for the very limited places in each of the hospital. If not, you will end up being in Sabah, Sarawak, or any other places that you are not, didn't even think of. So for me, I put my USM as my first choice. So lucky for me that I had a very stable line at that time and managed to secure a place. So and then after securing the place, we went through another short courses of PTM, in which stands for Program Transformasi Minda for about 1 week, and then go through the orientation phase in the hospital. Okay. And then after that, then I only started my housemanship, in which I started in ONG, obstetric and gynae, because usually in my hospital in HUSM, usually they will put all the local graduates in ONG because they sort of thinking that the local graduates can adapt better in such a hectic posting. But for me, it is just the same for everyone. Yeah, I'm trying to share, but kejap. It's okay. Tak boleh share pula. Anyway, for my first posting, I went through obstetric and gynae. By the way, if you guys have any question in the meantime, you can just PM or can just put on in the chat box. I started my posting in obstetric and gynae, and my first day I started in the labor room, in which in the first day we was expected to know how to do VE, vagina examination, how to club patient in very limited period, and how to conduct labor, and also how to suture all the tests after delivery and all. So, but then we didn't started right away with attending patients alone, because for each of the posting, we are given a period of 1 to 2 weeks of tagging period, in which you will tag with your seniors or the MOs, so that you can learn of how to do all the very basic things, and then all the necessary skills within that short period, so that you can work alone and also during the night shift. So no need to be really worried about whether you will be thrown into a posting without knowing anything. They will be given a time that you can gain enough experience before they can let you go doing everything alone. So but then if you didn't fulfill the minimal criteria, so there will be certain people that will be extended of the tagging period. And need to say that the tagging period is a very, very tiring period of a housemanship, because you will need to attend 1 to 2 weeks straight without any off days from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And that is just on paper, because you will need to go to the hospital earlier than that, because you need to review all the cases, know all the cases deeply, and then before the bosses come and doing the work rounds. So, and then even though on paper it says end at 10 p.m., it is rarely that you can go back on time as well. Because if there's any patient having some issues at the 11 hours, so you are bound to attend the cases. You cannot just let them go and going back just like that. So it's common sense saying that it is your duty to do so. Okay. Yeah. Still cannot share my slide, but it's okay. And then during ONG, because it is famous for obstetric and gynecology posting as a posting that is very, very hectic because of the adrenaline rush, because the pregnant mothers can just deliver baby out of nowhere, and then we need to anticipate when they are going to deliver. So at times, the storm can just came out of nowhere. So we need to be ready at all times throughout those postings. So I think it's a very wonderful experience starting in that posting as well. After that, I went through a medical posting, and currently I'm in my third posting in surgical posting, in which I would say a very interesting posting as well. Yeah. There's a one question pop up from my window here, asking about what is my advice for choosing hospital for housemanship. Uh, for me, I'll divide the type of hospital based on the KKM hospital or the general hospitals, in which we have the big hospital and also the district hospitals. And also another one, we have one university hospitals such as USM, UMMC, and also Hospital UKM. And also in near future, we have the new hospitals such as the Hospital UPM, Uniza, and the one might be opening up soon is maybe Hospital UMS or Hospital UITM. Okay, so out of all these three hospitals, my best advice is, I would say, is to choose the one that will have the best support system. And support system not just necessarily means your family, it could be your friends, or it could be anything that could relieve you out. But then most of the people and most of my seniors would say to get to the hospital that nearest to your family, because at least you would have someone to talk to, and also you would have all your laundries, food, getting ready all the times. When just go back home, then you will have everything ready, because you won't even have enough time to do all that as well. Okay. So that's why during the e-housemanship, in which the phase that you are applying for your desired hospital, you need to have the very stable internet connection so that you can have your desired hospital. But then even if you're not having the hospital that near to home, you can still find out your own support system, your strong support system, which is your friends, your colleague, and it could be anything. Okay. And some would say as well, it is best to apply for district hospitals because the workload is lesser, there's a lesser patients, but then there is very subjective as well, because the patients can just come out of nowhere. And even sometimes during this MCO, where people should be just staying at home after 8 p.m., after 8 p.m., the cases just come, case motor vehicle accidents at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I'm not sure where they went to. So that's just very unexpected. And you cannot just say district hospitals are less busy than big cities hospital. And also maybe university hospitals is lesser workload than the other hospitals, because it is very subjective. Okay. And also getting another question here is, pointer or CGPA will determine if you will be in contract or permanent MO. Will it influence your rate or chances to get employed? So regarding the permanent or contract medical officer issues, as of now, either our pointer or CGPA will affect that. Is there's no clear guidelines yet set up by the MMC or even KKM or even JPA. So I would say no for now. But then even if so, our pointer or CGPA in universities will not really affect will not really determine we will be in contract or permanent medical officers. But if anything in the future will determine is might be our performance throughout housemanship, whether we are extended in any of the postings, or maybe if we have any extra points to secure the permanent post, such as we are publish any case reports or doing any research that can add up our value. Okay. So, but then as of now, there's no clear guideline sets. There are no black and white set up by the government or MMC yet. So I cannot say much about that as well. So that is one of the things as well. Getting the MMC and MMC, like the MMA, the Malaysian Medical Association, is fighting for is to have clear guidelines by the MMC of what are the criteria for the current HOs to have a permanent post. Okay. Even for now, out of 20,000 graduating from housemanship, only about 700 or 800 is getting the permanent post. So it's very less, about less than 10%. Okay. And also there's another question here. Is it advisable for fresh grad to publish some paper or doing external paper like MRCP? Yes, it is very advisable for you to do case report, any research, just like I mentioned just now, and also for external papers. Yes, it should have extra points, but just like what I said just now, it's the government still do not have a proper guideline. There's no black and white yet, and even there's the current contract medical officers. I think many of them having their already passed their MRCP or external papers, but they still didn't secure their permanent post. So it is an issue, and even some of them already passed their papers and already quitted as well because of getting really frustrated with all the janji monies from the government as well. Okay. And then throughout my undergraduate days, actually, I do involve a lot in volunteerism, and also throughout the Medical Student Society as well, in which I volunteered through few NGOs. One of it is Imarat, Ikram Health, and also the Heart NGO, in which we arrange a mobile clinic to the nearby community in Kelantan and also throughout Malaysia. Because for me and also for those NGOs, we think that the medical shouldn't be only within the hospital compound. We should try to reach the community better and also throughout the rural areas. And also that's why within KKM, we do not just have hospitals. We have the klinik kesihatan, the local clinics, and deeper we have the clinic desa, and also we have the mobile unit that working through reaching the orang asli, the aborigines as well. So those who are doing their medicine in undergrad years, maybe you can try to, maybe after MCO, yes, of course, to reach more towards the community and try to learn from them as well. Because during my undergraduate days, there are many procedures that are done outside the hospital as well. Doing the parental examinations, all the examinations that I think most students didn't really have the chance to have the examination that with positive findings. Okay. So the question, is it better to do housemanship in Malaysia or abroad? I would say that will depends as well. And I think Dr. Hanis is best to answer this question because she actually experienced both, but I think she will get through that later. Yeah. Is Mujaahid here already? Hello?
Hello, yes.
Mujah, you want to continue back of where you left, or
It's okay if you want to continue, or
because I'm still trying to figure out my slides, but so I think
okay, sure, boleh.
Okay.
By the way, I want to say that I'm really sorry that I was cut off just now. I was like short sendiri presenting on my own. Okay, so I think we need to go back to the slide. Maybe Donna can help me share the slide because I'm using iPad. So when I'm sharing the screen, I can't see whether I'm in the room or not. So to prevent those things from happening again, so we need the help of Donald. Thank you, Donald.
Apology accepted.
Thank you, Ruba. I would like to ask, I mean, during which part of the presentation was I cut off just now? Can anyone like? I think we need to go back a few slides, Donna. Is it this slide? Okay, maybe I'll just go and explain this slide in brief, then we move. Okay, so I think in the clinical years, I would say that it's much more or less the same in your pre-U or SPM, where you're gonna have a lot of content, but it's important for you to understand those content as you go along, because in your first year you're gonna have like a lot of system. For example, you're going to learn the heart system, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, and those chapter are a lot. I mean, it's a lot compared to SPM. Biology is like, I think if you can say celah gigi lah macam tu, it's very very little. I think pre-U is a bit broader, but medical school is a lot. I mean, if you put it in that way. So it's very important for you to understand, because eventually when you want to go for exam, you need to memorize those information. I mean, whether you like it or not, in med school, memorizing is important. But more important than that is for you to understand what is being discussed. If you understand those topics before exam, it's much more easier to revise and eventually scoring in exam. I think moving to clinical years is you in these years you'll be in, for example, in third year you'll be covering 4 major posting, which is medical posting, surgery, ONG, and as well PIT. So this is in your third year, and then your fourth year you'll be having like more minor posting. You have commuter posting, ORL, Oftal, psychiatry, ortho, and eventually in your fifth year you'll be repeating much more or less the same posting. So in this year, I would like to stress that time is not on your side. It's one of the challenges that you might face is that you need to attend what rounds in the morning. You have case presentation, you have seminars, you have CBL, and eventually at night you have on call, like on certain week on certain day of the week. So it is a very hectic life, and you don't like. I think pre-clinical years you can enjoy much. Clinical years not so much because of the time constraint. Because you need to prepare for presentation, you need to prepare for seminars, a lot of things you need to prepare. So this eventually need you to be able to manage your time wisely. Okay, if you wanted to do something else, it is okay. I mean, you need to have something else that you are passionate about, but it's important for you to be able to manage your time. So that is one of the challenges as well in the clinical years, where you will be having a lot of things, and how are you going to be handling all of those things at one time? So during my third year, this is kind of a shock for me, entering what round for first time, doing all of these things is kind of a shock. But as you go through with it in your fourth year, final year, you get the hang of it, and I think you're gonna do quite okay. All right. So that is the first challenge that you might face. Secondly, I would say the kind of challenge that you might be facing is that in med school, it is more of learning by yourself. You need to learn a lot. I mean, doctors, when they want to teach you in ward, they expect you to know certain contents. Let me give you an example. If you have like a session regarding how to examine your lung, during that session, the doctor expect you to know what are the steps to do so, what are the anatomy of the lung, what are the things you need to look for when you check. They need you to know all of those stuff. The only thing that they are going to teach you is how to perform, where to put your stethoscope, where to put your hand, how to ask the patient to breathe, how to open the patient's shirt. So those are the things are going to be taught to you. But then the real content eventually is you need to be able to learn by yourself. I think personally for me, coming from a boarding school, which has been spoon-fed, and go to matriculation, I would say same, being spoon-fed. It's kind of hard for me to cope at first because you need to learn and absorb all by yourself. But I think this is the skills that you need to learn, even in masters, even as a houseman, medical officer. Medicine is a continuous lifelong learning where you need to have the passion, like what Dr. Hanis mentioned, like something to make you keep going. That eventually you need to push yourself to learn and learn more on yourself. Okay, you don't expect that, oh, doctor need to teach me everything. No, it's more of you learning, and if you don't understand, you go and meet the doctors to clarify or to ask questions. So those are the kind of self-learning that you need to be aware of when you enter med school. Okay. And then I would say like the exam that we have in med school during your pre-clinical years, you're gonna have eventually a professional exam 1, where if you pass, you can proceed to clinical years. But if you don't pass, you need to retake the exam until you pass before you're able to join clinical years. And eventually in clinical years, you're gonna be having professional exam 2, and this is the time where eventually you're gonna have your professional exam 2. If you pass this exam, then you are qualified to become a doctor. So it's quite a big exam in your clinical years. Okay, so those are the kind of challenge that I think you might face as a uh, medical student. So I think we move on to the last part. I mean, what are the privileges of becoming a medical student? I think one thing you need to realize is that when you are a medical student, you are actually a part of the medical fraternity. You are actually a family within the hospital itself. You'll be able to interact with doctors, you'll be able to interact with the nurses, you'll be able to interact with patient. In order to obtain private information of the patient, that is a privilege that not everybody are able to get. You know. Secondly, you'll be able to interact with doctors, one of the best doctors in the country. For example, my personal experience being in the operation room with Prof. Zuhdi, one of cardiothoracic surgeon in USM, seeing the patient, how they stop the heart, how eventually because the patient are going through valve replacement, I managed to see how the heart and lung machine works, how they open the heart, and eventually you get to see those are the kind of, it makes me intrigued and excited at the same time to be able to be in the same room with the surgeon who are actually conducting those operation. I mean, as a student of other courses, like other than health courses, I don't think uh, they're able to experience this same thing as you. And then you will be able to, get the experience of conducting labor, playing with babies, and then you get to see how a patient go through a total knee replacement. You can change your knee to a new one. So as a medical student, you are able to seeing all that, how the patient eventually progress from having a bad heart failure to eventually getting better and being discharged from the ward. So those kind of progress, you are being able to witness by yourself. So I think it's a privilege that you can't get like anywhere other than med school. Other than that, I would say that you need to know that your friends who are in the med school are one of the best students in the whole country to be able to be accepted in med school. All come from excellent academic background, and eventually your friends are gonna be excellent in their career in whatever they choose to be. Some of your friends are gonna be like specialists. Some of your friends are gonna be even director general. I don't know, one day, or ministers. People can be ministers now. So most of these people eventually are your friend. I mean, you are connected with a bunch of talented and very good people, and this is your close and best friend. So I think this is one of the things you need to cherish. Be close with your friend. You might not know that one of them they're gonna be like the ministers. So you might need your help, to fund your clinic or what later. So you need to be friend with them. Okay, so appreciate your friend and know that these are excellent students, and to be a part of that is a privilege that you need to cherish. And I think there's a lot more of privilege that you have becoming a medical student. But I think I won't be able to share all of it. But know that becoming a medical student and eventually become a doctor is a thing to be cherished and memorable moment in itself. That people who don't go to med school don't get to experience what you are experiencing or about to. Okay, so I think we can move to the next slide. Okay, now the question that we need to ask, do medical students eventually only read books? Are we a bunch of nerds who don't do other stuff? No, just sit in our room and like study, don't do anything. So are we those kind of students? Okay, next one. So me, myself, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, thank you. So me, myself, I've been involved in the Majlis Program Pelajar back in my uni. So in 17, 18, despite being a medical student, I think because this is my passion and I love to be involved in this kind of activities. And this is the part where we have like our own Dewan Peringatan Pelajar, which is our own like parliament in our campus, despite the parliament is not being open now. So in USM, we still have our own parliament, so we can discuss issues like in their parliament. So you still able, you have time to do all that. Next, so I'm also one of the USM basketball team. So these are all my very close friends. You know, these are doctors, okay, in the pictures, okay. So they are dental student, medical student, health science student. So this is during my time that we have this kind of competition. I think you can see Tong Yang. Tong Yang is not in the picture. Tong Yang, I think it's in the room just now. Okay, that's okay. Tong Yang, why you're not in this picture? Okay, yes. Okay.
Why?
So this. That's okay. So these are the kind of thing that you are able to, despite having a hectic schedule, but when you get the hang of it, they are you be able to do a lot of things. Next. And other than that, I'm also involved in debate as much as Ruba. So we will be having a lot of debate competition. And one thing about debate that I would like to point out, like I want to brag a bit. I think when I first joined Health Campus, USM Health Campus, we don't have an English debate team. We only have Malay debate team, Malay debat lah. So, but I'm an English debater, and I don't like Malay debate so much. So me and my friends, you guys see that Dashni in this picture, the one wearing the white shirt. So we both of us are very passionate in debating. So we start to form team, you know, sending people to go to competition. And eventually, we managed to have a English debate team in Health Campus. One thing that I want to take from that is, if you are passionate about something, and when you see in your area there's no one doing it, so you do it and ask people who are interested to join you, and eventually you can do something that you like. Because I'm passionate about debating, therefore I choose to do that. So you need to find what you are passionate about and focus on that. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is where you can see Aiman in this picture. Okay, volunteering and volunteerism. This, I think, is a unique aspect as a medical student, because when you are a medical student, you have the knowledge. You know how to take blood, how to measure BP, blood pressure, how to check glucose. This is all you're going to learn. So when you have this basic knowledge, eventually you are going to be able to do something for the community. This is a picture when we went to one of the Orang Asli community in Pahang. Me, Aiman, you can see Aiman's wife is also in this picture. So, and when we went there, I mean, you'll be able to have the experience of doing real works, how you can benefit communities. So as a student, I mean, this is not when I'm a doctor, I'm still a student during this time, but we still able to benefit the community. So there's one unique thing as a medical student, that even before you are a doctor, you can do good for the people. And it's one of the aspects that you need to cherish well and involve. I mean, this is not the thing that people force you to go. You volunteer for it, okay? So if you have passion in this, please go forward, and you have the capability to do so as a medical student. Then we can proceed to the next slide. Okay, now let me talk about study and life balance. One thing I would like to say to everyone is that you need to find your passion. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about dancing? Are you passionate about acting? Are you passionate about debating, or playing basketball, or playing ping pong, or whatever sports? Find that passion. I mean, other than become a medical student, and focus on that. Because I believe somehow, me as a medical student, it's very stressful to be a medical student, but somehow doing other stuff, debating, playing basketball, you meet friends, you enjoy, you have fun, somehow helps to release your stress, somehow help to channel your bad thought, your bad energy. You know, after a long day at work, you just go and play basketball with your friend. You all laugh, and it's a good day. So you find your passion. What are you passionate about, and focus on that. Okay, it's very very important, I guess, to keep us going and make us human being, because as a human being we are always paid. We always like something, and if we don't get to do what we like, it makes us feel uncomfortable, it makes us feel sad, make us feel stressful. So therefore, find something, okay, and focus on that. Second is find your clique. Clique as in your friend. You know, in medical school, it's very important to find your close friend, because eventually in clinical years, I would say that study group session is very, very important. I think if you ask a lot of the seniors, having study group session is very important, because to cover knowledge is mastered, is broad and a lot. Therefore, if you're able to delegate the task among your friends and eventually cover one topic a night, it helps you. You know, one thing that we did as a medical student before pro exam is that we whenever we have a teaching with a prof or a doctor on the day, I mean during the ward round, or we have teaching the night, we meet our friends and we teach them, or we tell them what has been told to us. I mean, the doctor explained about this, what should you do when you are doing a cardiovascular examination. So when you have the knowledge fresh from the doctors, and eventually you have to teach your friend, you yourself will be able to remember it well and better. When you teach someone, it shows that you understand. I mean, in order to teach something, you need to understand it first. Therefore, when you teach someone, it helps you yourself to become a better person. Okay, always share the knowledge with your friends, tell them, and believe in your friend. You know, some people, they say that I don't think this guy can teach me, I'm smarter than him. Do not have that. Everybody is special in their own way, and you need to be able to appreciate your friends. You know, your friends are excellent students. They are not like a student, like Chikai student out of nowhere suddenly become a medical doctor. So you need to be able to appreciate, believe them, and like eventually learn something from them. So it's very important to find your clique, because one thing you need to realize that this is your friend that you're gonna like vent out your emotion. No, after a stressful day, you're being scolded by the doctors because of any reason. You need to find some friend to vent out this feeling, and these are your friend that you can go and hang out together, eat together, sleep together, do whatever you like together. So it's very important. Do not be alone, especially in med school. You need companion, you need friends. Okay, be in a group. You are stronger in group. Lastly, these two shall pass. This is a quote that I always have in mind. Like, you know, as a medical student, it's not always happy days lah. I mean, it's stressful when you prepare for a case presentation, but eventually it does not turn out well. You know, the doctor say you don't know anything, or stupid. Doctor rarely use the word stupid lah, but you don't know anything, or why aren't you preparing this enough? You get scolded. I always have in mind that these two shall pass. I mean, the bad condition that you are having now, eventually one day it's gonna be better. Eventually it's gonna get better. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So one thing I would like to say that keep going. Whatever you are in the COVID pandemic you are having now, keep going. Continue. Eventually these two shall pass. Okay. So reach out to your friends, ask their help, and do not be alone. Okay, so I think it's very important in med school. Study and life. Do what you are passionate about. Get your friends. So that's the gist of it, that what I want to share today. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is one quote that I love very much. Everyone is special in their own way. Okay, so you need to be able to appreciate other people. Eventually, we are not perfect. We are not perfect human being. Everybody have their own strength. We have our own weakness. Therefore, we need to be in community. We need to be in group. We help one another. Therefore, everyone is special. Learn to appreciate that. Okay, it's very very important. And never doubt yourself. Sometimes you are not good at something, but at other part you are good. For example, you're not good at presenting case. I mean, you can learn how to do that. But you're very good at blood taking, BP measurement, all this kind of skills work. So it's one of the things that, I mean, you can like brag about or eventually be happy about. Okay, so it's very very important to know about this. Okay, next. Next, I just want to like share this out with everyone. Now we are, I mean, there's certain movement in order for us to talk about the contract system that we're having for the healthcare workers led by MMA. I mean, you guys can see in your social media, so a lot of issues concerning healthcare workers. So I'm not trying to like promote you to support or anything. I just want to share with you, this is the reality that you need to face, whether you like it or not. I mean, become a doctor is very nice, is very happy, but we need to talk about certain issues that are gonna face, that you are eventually going to face later on. You know, as a contract man, now all of the doctors in government uh, are being called based on contract. Eventually, if your contract is being terminated, so you can be kicked out of the ministry and you have to find jobs. So there is such thing in Malaysia now, that doctors are out of jobs. You know, we don't listen to that before. The doctors are out of job, but now we can see that doctors are out of jobs. They need to find job like every other profession, okay, in this country. So that's one. I think I want to spread awareness in regards to this. I think moving on to the next slide. I think that's about it from me. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really sorry for the problem that we faced just now. I've been cut off. Hopes that whatever I say may benefit you somehow. Right. So I think that's all from me. Thank you. I pass to Ruba. How are you doing, Ruba? Are you doing well?
Thank you, Muja. Yes, Muja, I'm doing. I know you miss me a lot, but I'm
Of
thankfully
course.
I'm doing well. Kind of disappointed you didn't include our pictures, but I know I'm there in your heart, so I'll take that. All right, so thank you, Muja, for the sharing. I think a lot of students would have benefited from your personal experience, and also from from all the wisdom that you've shared based on your experience. So now we'll go back to Dr. Aiman to continue with his slides.
Hello. So while waiting for the slides, can I just go through a bit about for the Q&A? Is it true if you want to work as MO in Klang Valley, you need to do housemanship outside Klang Valley? Maybe yes, maybe no, but that will depend as well, based on the available posts in each of the hospital. But rumors says that that's how we should do. But then even if there's no post available in Klang Valley, then that won't do it as well. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose my slide is not coming yet, but anyway, so just continue a bit of about Muja started just now. During his undergrad years, he was the student councils throughout the 2018, 2019, and then at that same period of time, okay, okay, can we have the second slide? Okay, so during that same period of time, while Mujaahid is the student council, so I was the president of the Medical Student Society. So we work hand in hand in handling of the issues that we have within the campus. So what did I do throughout my years as a president of Medsoc? So one of it is we collaborated with a few NGOs to arrange mobile clinics in which we had Ikram Health, Imarats, and also Heart NGO. So throughout the mobile clinic, we tackle not only the medical issues of the community, we also go deeper about in their issues that they have, maybe in terms of financial or social issues, in which because the medical and financial issues and also the social issues can sometimes interrelated. If we tackle one of it, it maybe can solve their medical issues as well. So at times while we are arranging the mobile clinics, we also helps to donate the food supplies, and maybe also in terms of financial of how we can help them through their community as well. And also throughout the year, we tried to continue the welfare team that was started in the year before by Fikri, in which the previous president before me. So we continued that welfare team, in which we tried to tackle any mental health issues, any welfare issues that are surrounding within the student. Because sometimes we need to know that these students didn't, they have the problems, but they didn't have the voice to voice it out. They didn't have the courage to tell the people around that they have the problem. And then that sometimes when we get deeper and deeper, that some of them also has mental health issues, and also sometimes family issues that we can try to tackle with the administrative. So we try to use the Medsoc platform to help them in by any means. For example, in terms of financial, we try to get some donations to them, and also try to get the administrations to help them, but in terms of scholarships. And also in terms of mental health, we collaborated with the psychiatry departments of the HUSM to try to get a screening done whether they have any underlying issues, and whether they need to start maybe some counseling session to get their mental health better. And also at certain, when at worst is when they diagnose with anything, we need to start the treatment for them. Okay. And also throughout these years, we organized many events, and not just in terms of, can I have the next few slides? Okay, next slide. The one with the FIC, seminar FIC. Okay, next one. Okay. This is one of the event that we done in 2017, the convention FIC Perubatan, because medicine is not just in the hospital, so it might runs in the community, in the Muslim community, and also in terms of religion as well. Because as you can see nowadays, during this COVID era, you can see that there's some kind of anti-vaccine movement, and most of it they relate to the religion. They said it is because of the content of the vaccine, it is haram to get into their bodies, and also because there's some kind of conspiracy things that the WHO is doing with the Yahudi things. So we need to get their mindset, and this is one of the things that we do throughout this convention, in which we need to get to tell them that medicine and Islam is not going in opposite ways, because even during the Prophet Muhammad era, there is already medicine being practiced, and also there's surgeries, internal medicine, and also the herbs in terms of pharmacies as well. So we get these panels to talk about that, enriching the communities. So maybe in the future that maybe this current Medsoc team can try to get deeper into the communities throughout Kelantan and throughout Malaysia, that we can have an online seminar of bigger FIC Perubatan conventions, because we can see that nowadays the anti-vaccine movement is getting bigger and bigger, and it's not actually they're really anti-vaccine, it's just that most of them are on the line. We will say that they are atas pagar. So because they're unsure whether this thing is actually yes or no. Okay, they are within the gray area. Okay. And also throughout my undergrad days, one of the program that I enjoy is during our year 4, we had this program, we call it this program Keluarga Angkat. what was the name? Mujah, during our year 4 PPIP and
CFCS.
CFCS program, because during this CFCS program, in which we collaborated with the public health department, organized by the public health department, we need to stay in a village, in a kampung, and all of us in the group, we need to stay with our own family angkat for about 2 weeks. And throughout that 2 weeks as well, we need to tackle and need to choose a topic of what kind of health issues that we want to tackle within the community. And for my group last time, we choose to tackle about the geriatric issues, in which issues concerning the elderly. So we organize a mobile clinic in the village, and also we try to tackle the other issues within the community as well. And we can see that they are having a sedentary lifestyle, and also didn't have a healthy diet. So we also organize talks about diet and also about lifestyles to the community, and also to the elderly. We try to get them exposed about the more healthy lifestyle, about getting exercise, not just about jogging few kilometers. They can have minor exercise at home, and then and also maybe taught them of how to do some minor physiotherapy and all. Okay. And also can I have the next slide. And also during my year 4, actually for USM students, we need to have our elective postings, and then in our elective posting, we need to do an internship of in any hospital outside of USM, or maybe outside of hospital, but still medical related. And then for me, I chose to do my elective posting in the Netherlands. It's the Maastricht, in which to the southern of Netherlands. And yeah, I managed to secure some sponsorship from USM to get me there, because USM is having a bit of connection with this university, the Maastricht UMC. So I managed to go there with another friend of mine. So we went there. Two of us went there, and we attached to the plastic and reconstructive surgery department for about a month. So it's really an eye-opening experience being there for a month, in which going there without knowing even a Dutch word. So we use a full English there, and it's really nice for the Dutch doctors, because of two of us. So normally they just use Dutch for their daily clinical sessions, but then because of two of us, so they're using the English language fully during the clinic and also the other clinical sessions, because of two of us. So I really like how they respect the guests there. And also I didn't have much of the picture taken there because of their strict policy in the OT and all. But actually, in terms of technology, I really like how they put the technology hand in hand with the health, and also how they arrange the appointments, clinic appointments. So it is not very crowded in their clinic and also hospital. Okay. So maybe our country can learn from them of how they manage to do that. Okay. Can I have the next slide? Okay. So after graduated, okay, it is because just now Muja did brag a bit, so it is time for me to brag as well. So after graduated, I managed to get these two awards, in which the leadership awards for men and also the alumni awards. But then it is not just because of CGPA, because for me personally, I think I'm one of the average students, but it is more because of my involvement throughout my 5 years in undergrad days. Okay. So throughout your undergrad days, and maybe some of you SPM leavers here, maybe not just going into the medical school. So maybe some of you will go into the health science courses or any other courses. So throughout your study days, try to involve not just only in your studies. Try to explore more about the world, and also try to learn also from your community around your area as well. Okay. Next slide. Okay. And then after graduate, this is what I did say about the e-housemanship just now. So when you are applying, before you start housemanship, you need to compete with the other people who are also applying for the housemanship through a website called Houseman. So you need to be very quick, very fast with your fingers, and you need to pick your desired hospital. And for me, I managed to choose Hospital University Science Malaysia, USM. And then these things actually be done within less than a minute. Okay. So most of my friends who also want to go to this hospital, they didn't manage to go so, but they still managed to get their second and third choice. Okay. So for this e-housemanship, for those who are in final year, you might want to learn from now of how you want to how the e-housemanship page goes. There are a few blogs that write about this, so you can just search about the e-houseman. Okay, this is one of the most stressful phase as well. Even though it is just a few minutes, preparing for it is really hectic and stressful. Okay. In next slide. Okay. So for the current issues is regarding the contract issues. Okay. So after housemanship, during housemanship, we already start the housemanship as a contract base. So even after housemanship, you already start as the contract medical officers, in which there are a few things, a few privilege that we didn't get compared to the permanent post, which the contract medical officers, we didn't have the advantage to further our studies, no career advancement, in which we cannot apply for the master's program, because for that you need to have a permanent post. Okay. And then, but then even for parallel pathways, in which you have the MRCP, MRCOG, and also the MRCS, and also there are a few others parallel pathways that are currently approved by KKM. Not all are available to fully utilize in Malaysia, because for the surgical base, you still need to do the MAT program. So the MRCP, even for those who already passed the phase 1 and phase 2, they are still query about how they can still get into the permanent post, okay? Because there are still no black and white about that. So also in terms of job security, and also in terms of few special allowance given to the permanent post, the contract medical officers didn't manage to get that. So there are a lot of things that are lesser that they get compared to their counterparts. Okay. Okay, in terms of work-life balance, I think Dr. Hanis already managed to cover that before this. Okay. And then in terms of mental health, I think it's not uncommon to have a colleague getting appointment under the psychiatry departments because of depressions, because of other issues, and even some of them, even of sometimes if the colleague is missing out of nowhere, so the other colleague who are working in the day have to be ready to cover their parts as well because of these mental health issues. So it is not uncommon to have that in the industry. Okay. And next slide adanya. Okay, this is just cover a bit about the differences. This is prepared by the MMA, the Malaysian Medical Association, of about the summary of within the differences between the uh, specialties that the contract HO, contract MO, and also the permanent MO that they get in terms of flexi pay allowance. We have that during our housemanship, but then when they finish their housemanship and then they get into the medical officer phase, but then under the contract they didn't have the flexi pay allowance, but they will have the on-call allowance. But I think as of now, not there are some hospitals that for contract officers they didn't manage to claim their on-call allowance. So there is some issues as well regarding that, and also regarding the working hours. On paper, you might can say that it is around 60 hours weekly, but obviously it is more than that for all HOs and MOs. It is obviously more than that. And also regarding the pension scheme, in which the contract officers, they didn't have the privilege of the pension scheme, and also they're getting the job stabilities, and also for the leave, the contract officers, they didn't have the privilege of having the hazard leaves of the cuti belajar and also the paternal or maternal leave. Okay. So for that, okay, this is a bit different of what Dr. Hanis shared about the career pathway. So only because Dr. Hanis did share about the general ni, but for this one, I would like to add between the apa ni, just before the housemanship, we will have the fresh grad phase about 6 months to 1 year, and then the housemanship phase about 2 years, 2 years to 3 years, depends on whether you get it extended or not, with 4 months of each rotation, and then you will get the phase of as a contract MO, and then whether you get as absorbed as permanent or not, then we will get further into the specialization. All right. Okay, so from that, any question from now? Yep. Should we go towards the Q&A session or about the other panels? Do you guys have anything to add?
I have nothing to add. I think the committee were saying that we can proceed to Q&A, and perhaps you can add in there.
We proceed with the Q&A session. Okay. All right. So we'll start with Dr. Hanis first. The question one, is there a path after graduating from medical school to pursue an internship or houseman abroad, like wanting to work abroad, being an MO there?
Okay, thank you, Ruba. For the first question, there is, in fact, now there's one of our Ministry of Health Deputy Minister were one of his statement, he encouraged students to do housemanship abroad if you get a place. Okay, so basically you have to know or to explore where you wanted to go, because every country sometimes have a different requirement. For example, if you want to go to US, you must have you must sit for USMLE and pass the USMLE. Okay, if you want to go to UK, you must pass a PLAB. PLAB is a professional and linguistic assessment test. So there's a MCQ and OSCE. So if you want to go to Ireland, I think there is no test because they recognize Malaysia, but you have to sit for IELTS. For Singapore, you also have to explore what are their current requirement, because I think they accept only certain medical school from Malaysia. Okay, so there is a path to do internship. So you don't need to do your internship in Malaysia. It's not the only track. So you can go abroad right after graduating, but still have to pass the local requirement there. Okay. I hope that answers.
The second question, is it better to do housemanship in Malaysia or abroad? And I think doctor can answer it together with the third one as well. If we do housemanship abroad, will the medical license be valid in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you. Because I only work in Ireland and Malaysia, I can only compare these two for a fair comparison. Alright, so a bit of context. Malaysia has a population of 32 million, but we have a number of housemen. At one time, we have around 12,000 housemen. Okay, in Ireland, we have a population of 5 million, but we only have 600 interns at the moment at one time. So it's a lot less. But how do we survive with that kind of number? Is that the system? Of course, there's a pro and cons in both countries. Yeah. In Ireland, we have phlebotomists. So when you want to take elective blood, I don't know whether such term exists, but not an urgent blood, like elective blood, you can fill in a form and drop in the phlebotomist form, and he or she will go around and do the morning bloods for you. So for that matters, you're covered. You can focus on the clinical work. Okay. All right. So number 2 is that there is no multiple layers of ward round. Normally, for example, I work in an endocrine team. There is 2 interns, um, 2 MOs. They call it SHO there, but in Malaysia it's equivalent to MO, and 1 specialist registrar. So she is a specialist. So there's 5 of us, and we have 30 patients. What we did was, in the morning, we will divide the patients equally. So each of us see 5, for example, and then the consultant came at 9 o'clock, and everybody will take turns to present our patients. So there are just 1 ward round at 9 o'clock. So by 10 o'clock, we are finished. We can proceed with the ward work, like requesting scans or finishing whatever procedures, and then get our lunch, go to teaching, and in the evening we will go to clinics. So I think in Malaysia, housemanship were more focused in the ward work, so we didn't get to go to clinic much. But I think clinics offered a different experience because we see patients and then we try to present and propose a management to the specialist. So it has a different role there. So I really, really love that clinics time in the evening. Okay. And then during my time, during my time, during my experience in Ireland, I think there's a lot of allergies to that term. During my experience in Ireland, um, what I can recall is we do not have we have like this proper 5 days a week kind of schedule, because although we are only 600 per country, but in one hospital at one night, there are only 6 people who are on call for the whole hospital. Why we can sustain with only 6 is because there is no many ward round. We only round for those who are unstable at night. So one intern will cover 6 wards because he or she will have to attend the emergencies one. And during if there's not a lot of emergencies, we will go down to the emergency department and help our emergency colleague. So there's a lot of experience during the on-call, and it's more like towards the emergency one rather than the ward rounds like we have here. So in terms of weekend, there's a lot of quality weekends lah. So there's work-life balance was quite good there. Okay, but when you are on call, sometimes when things when there are a lot of emergencies, it can get out of hand. So the next day you are just like that tired because you have to cover 6 wards at night. So in Malaysia, I think we with the numbers that we have, one ward we have a couple of housemen at night. So that is the strength here now. Okay. Okay. So as I mentioned, in Malaysia, the pros or the benefit, the advantage are when throughout your 2 years of housemanship, you get to stay in one hospital, except for some hospitals. So if you're in USM, if you get USM, you stay in USM for the whole 2 years. But I know that those in Sabah and certain places, they need to rotate around in a nearby hospital. I think Queen Elizabeth, they have to go to, I think, Likas and Queen Elizabeth II for certain posting. Okay. So in Ireland, we don't stay in one hospital. You have to move. Sometimes you have to move to 2 hospitals, sometimes 4 hospitals, sometimes 3 hospitals throughout that 1 year. Okay. And the thing about Malaysia is that when you apply, everybody are on the same level, because every Malaysians are guaranteed to get an intern post or houseman post. So when you apply, what leverage you is that how fast is your internet connection lah. So you get your desired hospital. But in Ireland or in other countries, you become the international candidates or the non-EU. So they will rank the EU first, and the EU will get their desired post, and the leftovers are the ones that we can get. So the challenge is there to get that hospital because we are the less preferred candidate. Okay. And then in Malaysia, you get to do more hands-on. I think in Malaysia, housemen do pleural tapping, peritoneal tapping, is the staple routine. But in Ireland, this kind of procedures are more of a registrar level. There are a lot of things like suturing, episiotomy is something that housemen in Malaysia do, but not in Ireland. It's a more of a SHO level or MO level. So hands-on wise, Malaysia is, I think, much better. And when you are working here, you know that there's a different disease as compared to abroad. In Malaysia, things like TB, dengue, what else yang telaga tu apa? Uh, lepto and one there's one thing. Apa The waterborne disease. Come on, students.
Is it typhoid?
Yes, typhoid. So these things you almost did not get to see at all in Ireland, but in Malaysia is so common. Yeah. So when you do your housemanship here, you get to see this kind of cases and familiarize with the management more. And then in terms of salary wise, I think in Malaysia, once you start as a houseman, the salary is quite high as compared to other career in terms of starting. You are already M40. But in Ireland, I struggle with the income because I'm an international worker. There's a lot of tax. For the first 6 months, I have to pay 20% of my salary for tax. After 6 months, it was 41% of my salary gone to tax. Okay, so that's quite different lah. Okay, so in general, I think in Ireland the advantage or the experience was more on the learning experience lah. Because there is a lot of help in terms of phlebotomies, they're more structured, so I get to learn more in terms of management. In Malaysia, the advantage is more on the hands-on and getting to stay on one hospital. Right? I hope that answers the second question. And the third question, if you did your housemanship abroad, will the medical license be valid? Okay, what you need to do, you have to, when you come back, you have to go to MMC and apply. So you have to attach the proof that you work there and the posting that you went through and the kind of job that you do during each posting. And this will be discussed in the MMC meeting and they will decide whether you can skip housemanship or you still have to do certain posting of housemanship or even redo the whole housemanship. In my case, I did 6 months of medical, 6 months of surgical. So I thought I will have to do 4 more postings. But what the MMC decide is that I can just do ONG, PEDS, and ortho, because they said I have worked in A&E during my on-call time in medical and surgical. So it's not standard. So they will tailor this according to your working experience. Okay. You have to know that in our medical act, the only postings that are actually required or compulsory is medical, surgery, and ONG. So sometimes if people just do 1 year of housemanship abroad, but they complete these 3 posting, they can even skip housemanship depending on the MMC discretion. Yeah. Okay. I think that's question number 3.
Moving into question number 4. What about the current news saying that our government didn't give the opportunity for doctors to further their career as specialists?
Okay, I think this has much been covered by Dr. Aiman. But some people will argue that most of the countries, even the developed countries in such as UK, Australia, US, Ireland, also do not offer permanent posts unless you are a consultant. But we have to remember that the difference there is that everyone is contract. Unlike here, there's a permanent and contract, and there's a major difference in terms of the advantage that these two groups have. Okay, so in Ireland, of course, everybody is contract. You have to apply for post every year. You have to apply for post. Next year apply lagi, next year apply lagi kan. But everybody stands the same opportunity in terms of applying for exam or postgrad lah. But here, permanent seems to have the advantage to get scholarship to do MMed, but the contract do not. So I think that's why we have to support the movement. The code black that was mentioned by Dr. Aiman and I think Dr. Mujaahid as well. Because this code black, what they wanted from the I think JPA and KKM is that number one, there's a clear selection who get the permanent post. Because now it's not actually, I think, totally defined like who gets the permanent post. Okay, and then there's a equal form in terms demanding this equal treatment and postgraduate track. Okay. Right.
And number 5, I think it's also covered in Dr. punya explanation tadi. How can I study postgrad if I'm offered a contract post? So, Dr. nak elaborate further, or should we proceed with the...
Perhaps I can answer the middle part. Can I still study in USM or other unis? I think for MMed lah. Okay. For certain programs, they do accept private candidate. But in order for you to do that, you have to resign from the KKM because if you do not have, okay, if you want to go to MMed, basically you will have to apply for hadiah latihan persekutuan. If you do not get hadiah latihan persekutuan, for example, your contract, you do not get hadiah latihan persekutuan, you cannot enter MMed. But now you say, I want to do MMed. I want to do MMed, so I resign. Okay, when you resign, you can apply to certain programs, but the thing is, you do not have monthly salary. You only get allowance on call. So the question is how can you survive life with that monthly on call? Because I think on maximum you get 1,000 from your on call. That's all. So there has been few candidates who took this private took MMed from private track, but from what I can see, they have other sources of income lah to support their life. Okay, so that's one consideration lah. So do I need to do postgrad in foreign country? So that's for something for us to also explore because it has been uncertain now. So it's worthwhile to explore as well. Yep, that's all, Ruba. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for all the explanation for all the questions. We proceed with questions for Dr. Aiman. Question number 1, what are the qualities should I portray throughout my journey in becoming a doctor? People say struggle, struggle, struggle as medic is hard. So what is your own definition of struggle and how to deal with it?
I think the quality that should have throughout the journey is time management, the most important one. Because everyone can study, everyone can go to the hospital, go to the class and all, but not everyone has good time management. So for me, the struggle part is more towards the time management and also towards finding of what are the important points that you need to study. So based on that, you need to attend the lectures and need to have your own study groups. I think this is kind of basic things, but the time management part is very important because not all people knows well of how to do it. So you need to have a good colleague of how to manage your time well and how to deal with it. And also another thing is because not people have the same problem. Some people has other internet issues, any financial issues, family issues. So with that, try to voice out all your problems to other people as well, so that the other people can reach out to you as well. Okay, don't try to keep your problems to yourself, so that people can help and reach out to you as well. Okay. Second one is, what is your advice to help the students cope during clinical years in this pandemic, as they may miss the usual normal situation or skill? So I think this is one of the most important things that they're lacking, is maybe in terms of they see lesser patients than the usual medical students in this pandemic. So I think one of the things that one of the most important skill is in terms of the history taking, because having the theory alone is not enough. You need to see the patients. So if you didn't manage to see enough patients, then maybe you can try to discuss with the administrative or your school. Maybe if for USM last time they had this online history taking sessions in which the lecturers they take a few patients and then they put up a online session for the students to had a history taking in groups, even though that might not be the same as face-to-face sessions, but at least they did something so that the students are exposed to the usual skills that they should have. Okay. And then for the in terms of the hands-on skill, that might be a bit hard, but if you have times, then try to get yourself exposed. Maybe in terms of if you still didn't get exposed throughout your undergrad days, try to involve yourself in workshops that provide you to teach about all those skills. And maybe sometimes you can have all those skills in terms of hands-on skills, examinations during the mobile clinic, and also to we are volunteering at the apa ni, rural areas as well, because when you're working with the NGOs, with the private doctors, sometimes they will have you to examine their patients as well. So try to search about it and expose more about it as well. And next question, can I know the backup plan after graduating from medical school? So it is about my backup plan or in general backup plan, because I think as of now, most of us has need to have our backup plan, even though we are still fighting for the movement for the government. We still need to have our own backup plan. So even during your study days, try to equip yourself with other skills as well, because I can see that some of my friends they have their photography skills, their coding skills, and also their financial skills in terms of they are involved with the insurance and also apa ni takaful business. So so try to equip yourself with non-medical skills as well. And also if you still want to pursue in the medical pathway, there are still a lot of options. Apart from KKM, there are still university hospitals, there are still academic pathways, just like mentioned by Dr. Hanis, and there are still few posts that provide availability for medical graduates, such as I can see that the insurance companies they provide some posts for medical license professions in their companies. And also maybe you can arrange or maybe start up a business that related to medical as well. You can try to explore more with the pharmaceutical industries and all drug reps. Okay. And the next one, what is your opinion regarding marriage as a medical student, HO or MO? Uh, what is actually in this question? Opinion regarding marriage, you mean as medical student, HO or MO? You mean when is the best phase, is it? Or question from Zulz.
Aiman, I think he is asking, boleh tak kahwin time ni, which is the best time to get married lah.
I think this is very subjective questions. In my batchmate in USM, it's very rare to see medical students, married medical students. But for my friends from other universities, I can see there are many of them who are already married throughout their years as a medical student. But try to have a stable financial if you are getting ready for marriage during a medical student. Or for during housemanship, I don't think financial is an issue, but it is more towards time management, because if both you and your spouse are housemen or medical doctors, then you need to arrange your schedule, your rosters well, so that you can arrange your children well, and also in between the family and in-laws. Okay, and as medical officers, I think in terms of time management might be better because they are working in office hours and also on call. So it is easier to arrange the schedule. But my opinion is that this is very subjective question. So as long as you are financially ready and also emotionally ready, then you are good to go. Okay. And then the next question is, if the requirement in SPM results didn't pass, can you pursue a medicine? I think the absolute answer is, if you didn't meet the minimum criteria, then the answer is no. So the other option is to repeat your SPM, take it as a calon mengulang for SPM and try to meet the minimum criteria and then get to tertiary education, matriculation, asasi, and then try to get past the minimum criteria for the tertiary education part as well, at least 3.5, 3.6, if I'm not mistaken. Depends on the institution that you're applying to. And also, or it depends on our performance in matriculation or foundation. Yeah, okay. Yes, it still depends on your performance in matriculation or foundation. Yes, but you need to still meet the SPM result criteria. Okay. Is there any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Aiman. We'll move to Dr. Mujaahid.
All right.
Your first question, is it necessary to buy all the medical textbooks during preclinical, or are lecture notes enough?
I think if we talk about reading medical textbook is very important, and I would suggest that if you really want to learn in detail, especially during your preclinical years, is the best choice to read medical textbook. Lecture notes, however, is a simplified version from the textbook because the doctors preparing the lecture notes, they take those points from the textbook itself. But I would say, the best student from textbook. Is it necessary to buy? It's up to you. If you think you can afford it, you can buy. If not, I think there are a lot of online version of medical textbook. You can get PDF form. I think during my school time, there's a link. I'm not sure it's available or not. That it will like direct you to entire like PDF version of medical textbook that you can use. So I would suggest, if you want to buy, if you can afford, it's not an issue. But if not, then it's better to opt for the online version lah. It's much or less the same. Lecture notes enough if you want to pass exam. Yes, it's enough. Lecture notes only, but lecture notes banyak. You don't think lecture notes is less? Banyak. But then to become a good doctor, really learn, I would suggest textbook. I think, can I proceed, Ruba, with reading the question? Now, what are the things you should expect as a new medical student? I think you should expect that one thing, most of the medical students, they come from excellent academic background. So it's rare for them to be like macam to fail the subject, to perform badly. But eventually, as a medical student, you will face this, that you underperform. So you need to set your mental state of mind is that it is okay. To be in those state. You don't feel that if you fail once, then forever and ever you'll be failed for your entire life. I would say that everybody has its ups and downs. And as a medical practitioner, as a medical student, it is okay if you fail certain subject for me. But the most important thing is for you to learn and know the reason why you fail and bounce back from it. Okay, so set your mental right. You don't, because you have the impression that, okay, I'm a successful student, excellent student, so forever and ever in my life I'll forever be an excellent student. So that's not necessarily the case. Okay, so be ready. It's okay to have certain hiccups, to fall down a little bit, but make sure you get back up and eventually pass medical school and be a doctor. So third question, what is your advice to student coping during clinical years in the pandemic? I think Aiman mentioned this just now, but I think a little bit I want to add is that one thing is that we in this pandemic, one thing we need to realize is that number one, accepting. You need to accept the fact that everybody is facing this problem. Okay, you cannot be in denial. Though because of this, I'm not gonna be successful. Because of this, I'm not gonna be a good medical student. It is true, but somehow accepting it and adapting is the way to go. I would say, now if medical student being allowed to go to ward, so now you need to maximize your time in the ward, to benefit you as much as possible. So that is the way to go. If you keep blaming on the current condition, then there's no way to go. uh, in my opinion, in addition to what Aiman has mentioned just now. Last thing is last question. Do you have any advice for first year medical students that feel as if don't fit for this course? I would say that try to re-examine yourself and the reason why you choose to become to enter medicine. If you really have passion for it, and or you feel that this is okay for me, but I would say that if you think it is still, you can still cope, you can still go through with it is still okay and it does not harm yourself in a way, then keep going, keep striving. But if you feel that no, this is not for me, I rather like sleep the whole day than listen to medical notes, then I would say specifically case to case basis that maybe you it's okay for you to withdraw from the courses or take another course. I mean, there's no harm in it. But if you feel that you have passion for it, but there is a problem, because you have to accept that medicine is not the only like hardest course, or in whatever courses that you take, or in whatever profession that you take, there are certain challenges, there are certain hiccups, there are certain problems that you might face. So are you going to like withdraw or quit from all this problem and expect that everything will go fine? No, eventually you need to learn to adapt or face this problem. But there is a line I would say that if this problem is harming yourself, is making you do bad things and eventually damaging your own self, then I think it's better, I mean, to withdraw from it. But if it's still okay, you still able to cope, but you don't perform much, I think just go for it. No, eventually you get the hang of it. It is a process. I believe we always trust the process. Go through with it. Attend lecture notes, attend session. Eventually you'll see, oh, there is a such trend. To this thing, and it's not that hard eventually. During my third year, during my first clinical I find it like very awkward. I'm a debater. I can like be fluent in like whatever presentation or debating, but it comes to presenting skills, I'm like totally scared and cannot open my mouth, like completely blank. And I would avoid trying to present case. If they ask you, would like to present case? No, I would not, because you feel afraid, to present case. No matter like you are a good debater ke, people when they see me in the ward and outside the ward, you see two different person. Outside the ward like very happy debate, and inside the ward you feel different stuff. But then I think as you go through with it during my fourth year, fifth year, you get the hang of it. You kind of feel like, oh, maybe this is the way to go. So that is when it gets better and better. Like eventually, I believe that you may pass. For me, I would say that once you enter med school, I mean, just to be happy lah, you are already a doctor, because eventually somehow you will pass. Somehow you will pass. Okay, to all the final years watching this, to Ruba, you guys will pass. No worries. Okay. All the best to all the students pre you or whatever you are doing. So I wish the best for everyone. And yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Muja. So with that final question, I would like to invite all the three speakers, starting with Dr. Hanis, if you have any last words before we conclude our session for today.
Okay, thank you, Ruba. I think Dr. Aiman and Dr. Mujaahid have portrayed a very good example, like how best to live your life as medical students, and they have shown that being medical students are not dull. It's very vibrant. There are a lot of experience that comes with it if you grab the opportunities. Of course, you can choose to be in the hostel and study 24 hours, but if you look outside, there's a lot of opportunities, especially in USM. We are close to Kampung Orang Asli. We are close to many villages that are in needs. Okay, and I'd like to share. I did a study for Houseman, and it's a big study. It's a national scale study, and we found that these people who are involved with extracurricular activities, they are significantly less likely to experience burnout with patients. And I think this is because they are they have developed these skills to connect and communicate and put interest in person. So I hope that our students and future students, if you study medicine, grab the opportunities. They all brag their experience. I don't have pictures, but I also grab a lot of opportunities lah, and I think that really, 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 really helps when you are working with people as a doctors. Yeah. Okay. So thank you and all the best to all of our participants here.
Dr. Aiman, any a few words?
So I think to the SPM leavers and also to the undergrad students, even though the futures might be dim, but try to work for it. And we are not discouraging you from entering the medical field, the medicine, because it is still a very interesting field for you to enter. But uh, try to have a very good plan, very good future plan for you to, in case it has anything happen later, it is the future not so good, you have already have backup plans so that you not have your degree wasted. Okay, there are still much more things that we can do with the medical degree, so try to explore more about that as well. And also for the SPM leavers, you might want to explore more, because it's not just medicine that is a difficult courses, and it's not just medicine that is the course that you can apply as a straight A scorers. There are much more interesting courses as well. Okay, now I'm some discouraging, but it's still good to explore more as well. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Aman and Aiman. And last but not least, Dr. Mujaahid.
Okay, I think my last word would be, I think especially for the pre-U student, if you feel that this is your passion, then by all means, with all the problem, contract and whatever, just go for it. If you think this is your passion, okay. Secondly, I think to all the medical student, whatever year you are in, uh, this learning phase, I would say, after I've graduated from med school, I believe that those student time are very fun, happy, and important somehow in my life. I mean, when you work, you don't find those moments again. So it's very important, like, to create memories during those time with your friend, with your family. I mean, in the ward. So try as much as possible, like, to enjoy the phase despite whatever problem that you might face. Okay, and I would say that number one, accept whatever is going on. The first rule of solving a problem is to address and accept that that is a problem. Therefore, then only we can solve the problem. Then we need to adapt in this world of changing, like, limitless. Anything can happen. A split of a year, the whole world can turn upside down. We need to adapt. We cannot be static. We have to adapt no matter what. Face our problem, and most importantly, be brave. No matter what happened, go through with it. Go through with it. And most importantly, do not be alone. Seek help if you have a problem. And I would say personally, my last word today, expressing your emotion, expressing your thought is very important. Find a way to express it, either by writing, either by ranting out in Twitter, or either venting out to your friend. Find ways to, like, make it out of your head or mind. It helps, to release the stress. It helps to ease your mind. So yeah, I think that's my last word, and I wish the very best for everyone, whatever they are doing now. As a houseman, medical student, me, you're gonna be houseman later. I'm quite scared what's gonna happen, but yeah, wishing the very best for me too. Thank you.